Hello. Good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are joining in from. Hello, 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 hello. Let's give some few minutes before we go right in. Hello, 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 hello. Hello, 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 hello. Welcome in to another exciting episode of the Friday Night Hangout. Woo! I'm super excited. What about you? I know this is one of those times where it looks like, woof, there's a feeling of overwhelm that sets in, right? But not to worry, that's why we're here, and that's part of the conversation we will be having tonight. But before we go right in, I want to take this time out to welcome you to a beautiful month of December. Welcome to this new month. Hey, Ozibeke, welcome. Good evening. Thank God it's Friday. Welcome to a month of celebration. This is that month. So welcome, 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 welcome. Okay, so yes, you're the first today, Ozzy. Welcome all in. I'm so excited because this is one of the concluding episodes of our team for the end of the year, which is five things your business must do before you wrap up for the year. And we've discussed certain things. And today we're going to be focusing on getting organized. Yes. What a time to discuss this. The 1st of December, when the feeling of the holidays is just creeping right in. Right? Good. Happy new month, my darling Ozibeke. Happy new month to everyone. If this is your first time for joining in, welcome. My name is Joy Onyeso, and this is the Friday Night Hangout Show. Here we have conversation on topical issues that can help you to improve yourself and your business, that can just help you to be the best version of who you want to be. And so today the conversation goes on. I will always do this in a very relaxing, chilling kind of way. And like always, I would advise get your note-taking materials because we're going to have a very insightful conversation as always. Okay, this is that time when a lot of things starts to happen. A lot of invitations starts coming in, and this feeling of we're at the end of the year. What do we need to do? A lot of businesses are going into that fury kind of moment. Everybody's going pa pa pa. This is where organization comes into play. How organized are you as a business? How organized are you as an individual? And today I'm going to share with you some keys for making sure that you stay organized in this season. Yeah, you know, um, organization is very key to being successful. If you want to be successful, you need to get organized. And in a season that we are in, where there are lots of distraction in forms of invitations to different things, a lot of events, activities happening, a lot of demand on your time by family, friends, and all of that. One of the best things you can do for yourself and your business is really to get organized. And the first thing I would always recommend is set your priorities for this season. This is the end of the year for most businesses. And so a lot of things need to be in place before you wrap up the year for 2023. Most businesses have their end of year season as, December 31st. So before you wrap up the year, you want to get organized. And the key thing, you need to put in place is your priorities. What are your priorities for the end of the year? If you don't understand this, then you find yourself delving into a lot of things that you should not. And then perhaps you miss one of the most important things that you or your business needs to put in place. So take out time to understand your priorities and to set your priorities for this end of the year. And then you may ask me, okay, how do I know what my priorities are? I want you to take a reflection. Just reflect and think about this. What would be some of the major highlights for you by the end of the year? What would you want to have achieved from now to the end of the year? What and why do you want to achieve it? Why would it mean so much to you if you achieve it? And what would the pain of not achieving it mean to you? And so when you're able to reflect along this line, you're able to see what is really most important for you and what are some things you know you can do without at this time of the year. Remember that you started off the beginning of the year setting out big goals for 2023. And so you would also take out time to reflect on where you are now in terms of achieving those goals and then get realistic. So when you look at what you've achieved on certain goals you've set out for the year, there are some you know that is of no use over flogging the horse. It will not be a priority for you at this point in time. So think about it. Think about that business you're running, your fashion business, your education business, whatever business it is that you're running. You want to look at where you are right now and look at where you want to be at the end of the year. That's the first thing. Set your priorities. If you don't set your priorities, it is so difficult for you to move forward. Hello, Miracle. Welcome on board the Friday night hangout. Now, when you've set your priorities for the end of the year, the next thing you want to do is to plan. And I like to qualify the plan by putting in effective. So, effective planning, not just planning, but effectively planning. And so, what does this really mean? I would always say that when you don't plan to wrap up the year, then you plan to fail. Because when you talk about planning, it means that you're sitting, you're reflecting. If you're with your team, you're brainstorming, and you're already looking at your priorities, looking at the actions you want to take in the milestones, the results you want to achieve. You want to look at the tools you need or have in place to achieve these things. You want to also be very clear on what the results you intend to get from the actions you're taking. All these are part of the planning. You have to plan your resources, different kind of resources that you have. The time resources, remember that from now to the end of the year is 31 days. Excuse me, please. Remember that the time you have from now to the end of the year is 31 days. There is no magic about it. You can't make it 32. You can't make it 33. It's 31, inclusive of weekends. So you want to really look at what resources in terms of time do you have available to achieve those priorities you set out. In terms of capacity, human resources, how much persons do you have? Excuse me, how many persons do you have on your team to help you achieve all you have set out to do? Perhaps you're the only one working in your business. Then you want to get very realistic in the kind of plan that you put out. Okay, so identify your priorities, right? Okay, and then plan effectively. You want to have a kind of plan like your roadmap that will take you to the end of the year. Then you also want to start looking at decluttering. When you're planning, of course, you'll be looking at places where you're already cluttered. It is not only physical space that could be cluttered. Even your mind, mentally, you could be cluttered. So you want to declutter and you want to focus on the task at hand. So things that you know are not leading you to that end result that you set out for yourself, that are not taking you closer to achieving your priority, you want to declutter them. You want to put them perhaps in the packet space for now. So you want to declutter, you want to, start using your power of no. You don't want to declutter and then take on new things that you know are not in your area of priorities for this end of the year. The end of the year is fixed, is certain, and the number of days and hours are already given. So you want to work within the ambit of what you have. So declutter, declutter, declutter. I cannot say this enough. You know how you feel when you come into a space and everything is strewn all over. You have clothes, you have shoes, you have books, you have everything all over. And you know how you feel when you see all of these things. Sometimes, if you're like me, I'm like, oh my goodness. I just start feeling like as if I'm encased somewhere and I'm just, boxed into a place. I can't function in that kind of environment. And that is how it is mentally as well. When you have a lot, it can drain you. So mentally, when you have that picture of what you hope to achieve and all the things you've committed yourself to, you just get drained. You're asking yourself, where do I even start from? And so I know for some of you, even in your business, you're asking yourself, where do I start from? So like I've said, the first place you should start from is set your priorities. What are the things that are so important to you that you want to make sure you achieve by the end of the year? Please list out your priorities. And for you to know those priorities, you need to be sure as to why they are so important to you. If you do not understand the why, then it becomes difficult for you to prioritize. So declutter so you don't feel overwhelmed, you don't feel drained. There are certain groups you want to put a pause on for this season and maybe rejoin in January. There are certain places you want to put a pause on for this season. There are certain activities you want to put a pause on for this season. It's all part of decluttering, even to your physical space. So if you have an office space and you know the amount of work you need to do this season, you want to do so in a very friendly, welcoming environment. And so you also want to declutter your physical space. So the more decluttered your physical space is, the more you're able to function effectively, right? So you just want to declutter, you want to declutter, and you just want to declutter. I hope I'm speaking to someone tonight. And then you also want to, you know, keep a routine. You want to build a routine for this end of the year. And so if you're one that you just wake up in the morning, you don't mind what happens for the day, you just feel you have to take some actions and you just keep going on, during the course of the day, the probability of you meeting your priorities is really very slim. So I would really encourage you to build a routine for this end of the year. Get clear on what your activities for this end of the year would look like. What time do you want to go to bed? What time do you want to wake up? What kind of activities do you want to do for the day? Get very clear on these activities because it's so easy to get into the overwhelmed zone if you are not organized. So we want to get you off from the overwhelmed zone into the organized, confident, and feeling good zone for the end of the year. And so when you are able to set out your routine, you're now ready to take daily actions. And this is where consistency becomes very key. Consistency means you're able to show up for the tasks you've ascribed to yourself for the day, get it done, and if there are reasons why you can't do them, you would know, you would evaluate, and you know when next you can get those activities done. But the key thing here is that you're consistently taking actions, not just actions, but result-focused daily actions that will move you towards achieving your set priorities for the end of the year. I see you, Nasiba. Welcome, Miracle. Welcome. Nice to have you on the show. And so these are very key tasks you want to get yourself down to do it. I know it may not seem something pleasant to do, but I tell you, if you spend 90 minutes every, end of the week, depending on when your week starts, right? And then you take out 90 minutes to plan your week, trust me, you achieve great results. So that every day you're just drawing from your weekly plan. Remember that from now to Christmas is just 24 days. To the end of the year is 30 days. My dear, you want to get moving and you don't want to get overwhelmed in getting the things you want to get done. Remember, I said this is our month of celebration. So you want to end the note on a celebration mood. And for you to do that, you must do the work that is involved. Before you enjoy the harvest, there has to be a planting and nurturing season. So now you need to do the planting and nurturing of the remaining weeks of the year so that you can wrap up the year strong and in a high mood, right? You want to know that you've done all that is possible for you to do. And I want to put out a caveat here at this time. It's okay if you don't achieve all your priorities. Because trust me, sometimes it's difficult to achieve all that you have set out to do for certain reasons. Why? Life is organic, life is complex. We're living in a, uncertain and volatile world. A number of things will happen that may have an impact on your ability to achieve your priorities. So that's okay. I want you to also note this so you don't overflog yourself, overbeat yourself, or feel deflated if you do not achieve all aspects of your priorities, right? And that takes me to the next thing, which is that is important for you to also, organize yourself around your uniqueness and your peculiarities. I'll say that again because someone needs to hear this. Organize yourself this season around your uniqueness and your peculiarities. What do I mean by this? Now, it's so easy for us to get overambitious when we're setting our priorities for the end of the year. Now, if you are a new business, you're just starting out, you already have certain constraints or limitations by reason of the structure you have, the years of experience you have, your clients, the number of clients you have, the number of returning customers you have. So there are already some limitations around that area, right? And so you want to take cognizance of this in planning. I'm not saying limit yourself, I'm not saying don't dream big, but you also want to dream realistically. So you dream big, but you take realistic steps so that you do not set yourself up for failure, you do not self-sabotage. There's an intricate balance between this dreaming big and taking daily consistent actions that are consistent with your uniqueness and your peculiarities. So you wouldn't want to start setting a goal that perhaps a flourishing 10-year business has, and you're just maybe 1 year in business, 6 months in business. You want to be realistic, right? And as for an individual, if perhaps you're a nursing mother, you have 3 other children to take care of, you have a home to run, you're running a business, there are about 8 to 9 productive hours in a day. So you want to also get realistic about how much time and energy you would have into achieving your goals. Noting that you're nursing a child, you have other children to take care of, you have other family responsibility, so that you do not overflog yourself. And that's why I usually would encourage us to stay focused on our lane and to celebrate your micro wins. Your micro win may be a macro win for some other person. So self-validate as you go along. Remember to just celebrate yourself for every milestone you hit. Because trust me, excuse me, it's not easy being you. It's not easy accomplishing all that you're set out to accomplish within your uniqueness and peculiarities. So you need to celebrate everything that you achieve as you move along. No one will celebrate you more than you will celebrate yourself. Okay. Then you also want to outsource. You want to delegate. By reason of your uniqueness or peculiarities, there are certain tasks you cannot do at this time and place. And instead of you forcing yourself and, overbeating yourself, getting into a state of overwhelm, it may be necessary for you to outsource or for you to delegate. How would this look like? Like I said earlier on, hi, Obioma, welcome to the show. Now, there are certain things you need to get done this year, depending on your business, depending on your individuality, and you want to be realistic. Remember, we talked about planning effectively, understanding your priorities for this season. You know, getting organized is what we're talking about if you're just joining us. Now, you want to be sure that the things we have 8 to 9 productive hours in a day. We already know that from now to the end of the year, it's just about 30 days. It cannot be 32, it cannot be 33. It's fixed, it's certain. You have only 24 hours in a day. And out of that 24 hours, you have just about 8 to 9 productive hours for most people, right? Look at what you need to really get done within those hours that only you are well positioned to do in that your business. And any other task that you know you have skilled personnel, skilled hands to help you, why don't you outsource it? Being a power woman involves you being vulnerable enough to know that, you know what, this is the limit of what I can do. For now, I need support and I'm willing to ask for that support. It doesn't make you weak. It doesn't make you less knowledgeable. It only means that you're smart, intelligent enough to know when you need to ask for help. Learn to ask for help. It is not anything of a weakness when you ask for help. Remember that we're all here set out for a purpose, and your purpose may fit into my purpose. We are interdependent, meaning that there is something that you do that fits into my need. And so when you recognize that we are interdependent humans and it's okay to ask for help, it makes you a power woman. So being a power woman doesn't mean that you can do it all by yourself, that you don't need anybody. Far from it. It's you being vulnerable enough to accept when you need help and to ask for that help. So think about it this season. When you look at the priorities you have, you look at all the tasks you set out to do, what do you need to outsource? What do you need to delegate so that you can focus on that which only you can do? Then there is an important thing about measuring. When you do what you do, it's important for you to measure what you're doing. You know why? One, it helps you to keep a track of what you're doing, what you've achieved, what the gaps and challenges are. Two, it helps you to understand areas of growth because you want to also know when you're growing. You also want to know when you're not moving as fast as you intend to move, right? So measuring and documenting is a very, very good practice for any business. So if you're in a business and you are not measuring everything you're doing, then it becomes problematic for you to even say, oh, we are growing. We're better than what we were last month. We're better off than where we were in 2022. That is what measuring helps you to do. And it's not a complicated process. You can put in very simple, you can put in very simple process in place that can help you collect efficient data that can tell you what you need to know. Remember, we talked initially at the first session of this 5 things your business must do to wrap up. We talked about data collection and what you can do with data and all of that. If you missed that episode, I'll ask you to go back to that episode and really watch that episode. We dealt extensively on how to collect data, how to store data, how to analyze data. So I'm not going to delve into that in this session. I will only tell you, go back to the first, I think it's the first or second episode of 5 things you must do before you wrap up for the year, and get to you just watch it again, have the replay, and then you can come back to this, right? So this is very important. Measure, document, measure, document. If you want to be in business for the long haul, you must put up a process and system where you're able to collect data, you're able to analyze it, and you're able to make informed decisions based on that. So looking at the remaining days of the year, what do you really want to measure? You need to be very clear, very, very specific, and then you put things in place that can enable you to get information that tells you, the things you want to know. So if you don't know how to do this, then you may also outsource to an expert to help your business put certain things in place. Business is not a walk in the park, but it's a very interesting journey. And it's a journey that requires resilience, patience, time, and a whole lot more. So if you're in the business just to cash out in the short run, then know that you're not in business for the long term. You want to be in the business for long haul, then you need to have patience. You need to give it time. You need to be resilient, and so many other factors you need to put in place. Now we also want to talk about smelling the roses. I know, right? All work and no play makes Jill a dull girl. So yes, there is time for rest. In between the hard, consistent, smart work you're doing, you want to create time to smell the roses. There has to be balance. There has to be rhythm. There has to be some form of harmony. Otherwise, you get burnt out even before the end of the year. So this time of the year, there's really a flurry of activities. People are going, pa, 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 pa. You want to achieve a whole lot. So get realistic. Infuse some time where you can smell the roses before you go on that big break. You want to have time, because one of the things about rest is that it gives you time to reflect. It gives you time to breathe. It gives you time to pause. So depending on how hectic your activity is for this end of the year, it might be important to infuse short hours of, periodic short hours of rest, of reflection into your activities, so that by the time you're closing up for the year, you're not totally exhausted. I tell you from experience. And so when you get yourself to the point where you're burnt out even before the holidays, you wouldn't enjoy the holidays. And that's why during the holidays, a number of people spend it being sick, taking care of themselves, and you're not really getting the rest that you so desire, because you have really overflogged yourself, overworked yourself, and then the time that is meant for you to spend with family and friends doing fun activities is nowhere to be found. So please infuse in short times, short periods into these busy 4 weeks before you go for the break. I know, Chizobam, that's my favorite time. This is my favorite time of the year. It gets to a certain point in December, my brain, my body will just go into holiday mood, and I will just be struggling. So that's why I talked about organizing around your uniqueness. and your peculiarity. So because I know myself and I know how my body functions towards this time of the year, I try to do most of my very important tasks before we get to the middle of December. And so by the time we're hitting the middle of December, all I'll be doing is mainly activities that are relaxing, that doesn't require a lot of mental work. So you understand your peculiarities and work around that. And then I would also encourage you to be adventurous. This season, be adventurous. If you keep doing the same thing over and over again, the truth is you'll get the same result. If every other thing remains constant, I'll talk from a science perspective now, right? So if every other thing remains constant and you keep doing the same thing over and over again, the same way, you get the same result. This is that time of the season where you want to infuse a little bit of adventure into how you get things done. You want to learn some things that are working, right? And that's why we're on this show together. So perhaps some creativity you is sparked or you're inspired to try something new. Please do that within reason, right? And so try and be adventurous. Try something new. When you learn something, apply it. That's one way to ensure that you've actually learned it and you can run with it. You've learned something new that you know will be good for your business. Please go ahead and apply it. Learn it. You know, so before we wrap up finally, I just want to, do a reflection on what we have discussed so far on the show tonight. Remember, we are talking about the 5 things your business needs to do before you wrap up for the year. And I said that in wrapping up for the year as a business, it could also apply to you as an individual. And so tonight we looked at some of the keys for getting organized, because we're talking about get organized. You can't wrap up the year in disorganization. It would impact on how you start off the year 2024. So if you want to start off the year running, engaged, and all of that for 2024, you need to ensure that you wrap up the year 2023 in an organized manner. And so some of the things we discussed tonight in helping you get organized and helping your business get organized is, one, you need to set your priorities for the end of the year. You need to set your priorities for the end of the year. You need to spend time on effective planning. You need to declutter your physical space and your emotional and mental space. You need to set out a routine. You need to start taking daily actions that will enable you meet your set out priorities. We also talked about outsourcing or delegating those tasks that you know you have other people that can help you do, and then you focus on those ones that only you are uniquely positioned to do within your business and what you can do within your uniqueness and peculiarity. We said organize around your uniqueness and peculiarities. Most people have 8 to 9 productive hours in a day. Organize around that. If you're a nursing mother with other kids and a family, if you're just recovering or recuperating from an illness, so you know that there are some peculiarities around you this season. Do not overflog yourself. So you want to organize and get organized this season within your own uniqueness and your peculiarities. Now, we also talked about measuring. Whatever it is that you are doing from now to the end of the year, you want to measure. Remember that at the beginning of 2023, you set out your big goals for 2023. Now we are just wrapping up the year 2023. You want to put in place systems to measure what you're doing. And I said here that in earlier sessions, I've talked about data collection, the importance of data collection, process and systems. And I will encourage you to go back to that and watch the replay. But just know that it's important to measure what you're doing. It can help you make informed decisions. It can help you see areas of weakness. It can also open you up to areas and opportunities of growth. So measuring is very important. And then finally, we talked about having a balance, having a balance in the activities you do. You don't want to overwork yourself so much that when you're shutting down for the season, you fall sick, you are so exhausted, you can't even enjoy time with family members. So in as much as you're getting yourself set up and doing all this activity, we want you to also infuse short periods of rest. And finally, I talked about you being adventurous. Please try new things. If you keep doing the same thing the same way and expect to get different results, that's just fallacy. If it's just very difficult to believe and to see, because you keep doing the same thing over and over again, you'll get the same result if all the conditions of actions you've taken are the same. So you want to try something new, you want to get adventurous, and then you want to start, putting things in place for you to end the year strong. And that's all we've been discussing tonight. We're talking about how do you wrap up this 2023 in celebration. We're saying that December is our month of celebration. But before the celebration, we need to do the planting, we need to do the nurturing, and then we need to do the harvesting. And during the time of harvest is when we celebrate. And so we want to get ourselves prepared. December doesn't come as it doesn't come without your knowing. We knew by January that December would come. And so today being the first day of December, we know that the 31st day of December will come as long as Christ tarries, right? So you want to make sure that you have things in place so you can really have time to enjoy yourself the end of the year. And be rest assured that your business is in a good place and you're ready to start off 2024 in an exciting spirit. Okay, so this is the conversation we've had for today. And if by chance you've missed any of the conversation in this series, I please encourage you to go back and watch them. We've had very interesting conversations on how to wrap up your year. And next week we continue the conversation. Another interesting, exciting conversation we'll be having next week. Next, we're going to be talking more about how then do you set your goals? How do you set your goals for 2024? And then the week after that will be our final episode of the Friday Night Hangout. And then we'll be talking about celebration. So make it a date with us. We have just 2 more episodes to go in this season of the Friday Night Hangout. And I just want to also begin to thank and appreciate you for always staying tuned with us, for always joining in. Without you, there'll be no Friday Night Hangout. So come prepared and invite anyone you know that is thinking about setting goals for 2024. We're going to have a very exciting 30 minutes conversation on how you can set effective goals for 2024. I always like to start things early, right? And so that even when your holidays, you're already getting it into, you need to internalize a number of things. And goal setting is one thing that you need to internalize if you want to implement it effectively. So come prepared next week, Friday, where we talk about effective goal setting. And so till I see you next week, Friday, from me and my team is bye for now. We love and appreciate you. And remember to put into action what we have discussed today. Set up your plan for the end of the year. And trust me, by the time we return next year, you have so much testimonies to give. I love and appreciate you. And until I see you next week, Friday, bye for now.